Hi everybody, I'm Pratibha Agarwal. I am an immigration attorney. I'm based outside of Washington, D.C. in Arlington, Virginia. We help clients, however, all throughout the United States. No matter where in the U.S. you are located, we can help you with your immigration case. If you're wondering how that's possible, if you've worked with lawyers in the past, that's because immigration is considered a federal practice. So as long as your lawyer is in good standing in any state in the US, we can help you with your immigration case no matter where you are located. So if you'd like to work with our firm, we'd be happy to help you. We help clients all throughout the United States. We help clients outside the United States as well. So feel free to give us a call if you would like to work with us. The best thing to do is schedule a consultation so we can have a one-on-one chat. It's usually done by Zoom. Many of our clients prefer to do it by phone, and some even come to the office in person. So I'd be happy to meet you in person as well. You can reach us at 703-348-1663. Again, that's 703-348-1663. That will be for a confidential consultation on any immigration issue. So we only handle immigration law. If you have immigration questions, give us a call and we will help you kind of talk through it, figure out some options. Many people call us without even realizing they have options. So we would love to chat with you more if you think that you could use some immigration assistance before you file your application, if you've already filed your application, or if maybe you have a denial and you want to see what's next. Okay, again, 703-348-1663. My name again is Pratibha Agarwal, and I'm an immigration attorney if you're just joining us. So feel free to put your questions into the chat. I come on live periodically, and good gosh, I have not been live for many months now, 2 months I think, which is unusual. I am happy I'm on here now. I'm hoping to be more regular for you guys. This is an opportunity for you to ask immigration questions. So feel free to put in whatever questions, and of course it will be general. Unfortunately, I can't get into confidential or intricate details about your case. Immigration is nuanced, so if you want specific information about your case, give us a call, schedule a consultation. I can answer information generally on here right now for you. Of course, we have people streaming on both Facebook and on TikTok right now. Oh gosh, we have like 80 people here on TikTok. Exciting. Very, very exciting. So feel free to put your questions in. This is your opportunity to ask them, and I'll give you my opinion, my legal opinion, best as I can. However, again, it's not confidential, and to make sure that it applies to your specific situation, I would highly, highly recommend that you give our office a call and schedule a meeting with me, which is 703-348-1663. And as I mentioned, you can do them by phone or by Zoom or in person if you would like as well. So what I generally do while you're putting your questions in, I will go through some common questions that come up, and hopefully that will be helpful to you guys. Okay, so I'll come up with I'll discuss some common questions, and hopefully that will be helpful to you, but feel free to put your questions in if you're wondering about your specific situation. All right, the question that I want to get to here is what happens if my asylum application is denied? Again, what happens if my asylum application is denied? For those of you that are unfamiliar with asylum, that is filed for when people enter the U.S., usually illegally, right? You can enter legally and file for asylum as well. You can file an application because you're afraid of returning to your home country for a host of different reasons. So usually you're afraid of harm if you return to your home country. You have to file within 1 year of entering the U.S. usually, unless you can show changed circumstances. So there are some exceptions to that rule, but generally you file within 1 year of entering the U.S. because you're afraid of returning to your home country, afraid of harm. Okay, so what happens? So many people file and they don't know what happens if it gets denied. What will happen to me? Will I get removed? So what typically happens is when you file for asylum, you will have an asylum interview. where you'll be asked many questions about your application. This can be hours long, so you should not file asylum if you're not legitimately afraid to return to your home country, okay? Because you will be grilled on the facts in your application, and you should be very familiar with them, and the asylum officers know how to kind of parse through to get all the details. So you should be very, very comfortable, very, very familiar, very practiced, and know what to expect. So working with an immigration attorney is key in this type of case. But if you file for it, you have your interview and you are denied, what usually happens is you are referred to immigration court. If you have some kind of underlying status, so let's say you have student status and you're filing for asylum on top of it, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get put in immigration court if you're maintaining some other kind of status. Okay, so if you don't have any other kind of status, like you entered illegally or you had status and it expired and you're filing for asylum, your case will get referred to immigration court. And then you can ask for asylum again in immigration court. So you do have an opportunity to ask for asylum again. But let's say you have some other options available to you. For example, let's say you get married. You can also maybe file for a green card in immigration court if you're eligible. Or let's say you married a spouse that's abusive. You might be able to file for a VAWA. So you can ask for multiple forms of relief when you are in immigration court or even outside of immigration court. But usually, if your asylum application is denied, what happens is for most people, you get referred to court if you don't have some other type of underlying status. So if you need help with your asylum application to prepare the strongest application, I would suggest that you call our office, work with an immigration attorney, and we can help you prepare the best application possible and also be prepared for that interview. Give us a call at 703-348-1663. Again, 703-348-1663. I have a few, so many questions here. Great. Hi, Avila. Can I reopen an asylum case? Someone is asking, can I reopen an asylum case? That's a really good question. So if your asylum application was denied, you can appeal that decision, right? So you can appeal that decision. You will normally, if you applied for it affirmatively and you get referred to court and the court denies it, there's an option for appeal. So you can certainly do that. There's a time limit on that. So make sure that you apply within 30 days for an appeal. Okay. Or you can always refile if you think you can prepare a better application. All right. And you might have other options available to you. So it's important that you have a consultation with an attorney to figure out what is the best option for you. And maybe you can have even multiple applications going to remain here in the US. All right. Call us if you'd like a consultation, 703-348-1663. Again, 703-348-1663. Someone here is saying, I am a student out of status, student out of status, student out of status. Many people have that. We actually talked to several people who have that issue. So they're students, they were here, they maintain status, and now they're out of status. What can they do? So if you're out of status in the United States and you entered legally and you are married, let's say to a US citizen, if you're married to a US citizen, you might have green card options. Obviously, do not apply for anything fraudulently, right? Don't get into a fraud marriage. You're causing yourself more problems. But if you have a real marriage and you entered with a student visa and you started at that school, for some reason it didn't work out, and you married a US citizen, you can still file for a green card. They can apply for your green card, even if you worked without authorization. So if you did that, don't worry, and your spouse is willing to help you, you still qualify to apply for a marriage-based green card, okay? So, or even if let's say you have a child who's 21 or over now, they can sponsor you for a green card as well. So don't give up. If you did enter legally, if you're on a student visa out of status, there may be options for you. So you have that option. You also have asylum if that could, if you're afraid to return to your home country, you may be eligible for asylum. If you've been taken advantage at work, you might be eligible for a T visa. If you witnessed a crime, you might be eligible for a U visa. So there's different options available to you. I know that all of immigration sounds really complicated, so if you'd like assistance, give us a call. We can talk to you, have a consultation with you. You can reach us at 703-348-1663. Again, 703-348-1663. So we have several, I saw some questions here. Hold on a second. Let me pull through. Okay. Someone is saying, can I go back to my home country after I get a green card? Can I go back to my home country after I get a green card? So a green card will allow you to travel in and outside of the US. However, if you are outside the US for more than 6 months, then you will have upon you to prove to CBP when you're re-entering that you did not abandon your green card status, right? Abandoning your green card status is if you lived here in the US and then you moved somewhere else, you got a job somewhere else, you have a family perhaps somewhere else in your home country, then your green card status might be considered abandoned. And that inquiry is triggered if you're outside the US for more than 6 months. So my advice would be don't let that happen. Come to the US. If you have the privilege of having a green card in the US, make sure you maintain that. Make sure you have that residence here in the US, that you have strong ties to the US, that you don't risk abandonment, because it is not easy. As many of us listening here, it is not easy to qualify for and receive a green card. So when you get it, take care of it. It's a privilege, and many people would die. Many of our clients would die to have that green card. So take advantage of it and be grateful for it. And if you do plan to live permanently in the US, don't abandon your green card status. Okay. And if you've been outside the US for more than 1 year, then you have automatically abandoned in most situations. Okay. It'll be very, very tough to be reinstated. Give us a call if we can help you. 703-348-1663. Again, 703-348-1663. I thought I saw a question here. How does someone apply for VAWA? Right? How does someone apply for a VAWA application? So a VAWA application, in most of our cases, many people qualify for VAWA, but in most of our cases, it's someone who entered legally or illegally, that's married to a U.S. citizen or to a green card holder that's lived with them. It's a real marriage, not just for immigration purposes, and there's abuse in the marriage, and the abuse oftentimes is emotional, not necessarily physical abuse. So you can file for a VAWA with what's called a Form I-360. It's a little bit complicated, so I would highly recommend that you work with an immigration attorney when you file for a VAWA application, right, to prepare the strongest possible application. Some people also qualify to apply for a green card with that VAWA application. So you might apply for VAWA, for a green card, also a work permit, and travel authorization. You could usually do all of this with a VAWA application. So if you qualify, you want to take advantage of that work authorization, you want to take advantage of getting a social security number perhaps, and also travel. So you can travel in and out of the US while your green card application is pending. Okay, so call us. We handle many VAWA applications. We would love to help you. We can be reached at 703-348-1663. Again, 703-348-1663. All right, I hope that answers your question about the VAWA. How long will it take for a 601A approval? That's a really good question. It's taking a pretty long time. I would say it takes a few years to get a green card through that. First, you have to prove that your marriage is bona fide, that it's real. Once that petition is approved, then you have to apply for the waiver, and that can take a couple of years before you receive it. And then you have to go outside the U.S., have an interview abroad at the embassy abroad after the National Visa Center collects all of your documents, and go to that interview and be entered back in. So before you take that step, I would highly suggest that you consider other options, right? You might be eligible for VAWA, you might be eligible for a T visa. So these are types of permission to stay here in the US without having to leave, and that you would get a green card without having to leave the US. So you want to be sure that there's no other option but your 601A before you do that, just in case you are not allowed back in, to avoid separation from family. If you want to talk to us more about this, give us a call, 703-348-1663. Again, 703-348-1663. Tina says, how long does it take for NVC for my daughter in Ethiopia? Okay, so basically the question is, I'm going to rephrase it, Tina. How long does it take to bring my daughter here from abroad, right, for a green card? So if you're here in the US and you're sponsoring someone from abroad, it could be your spouse, it could be your child, it could be your parent. It usually is taking right now about 2 to 2.5 years total to have them come in. There's a part that happens right here in the US to prove your own status and then your relationship with that person that you're sponsoring. So that can take about 9 months or so right now. Then the NVC, the National Visa Center, will collect all your documents. You'll fill out an immigrant visa application. And once all that's set, the case gets moved over to the US Embassy in the country that you're applying from, that the person that you're sponsoring is in. They will be scheduled for an interview. They will complete their medical exam, and they will appear for their interview. And hopefully by the time the interview occurs, your son or daughter or your spouse has their medical completed and they're ready to move to the US permanently. That whole process can take about 2 to 2.5 years. It's a very long time, but they'll enter as green card holders. So that's a huge, huge benefit. Give us a call if we can help you with that. We're at 703-348-1663. Again, 703-348-1663. Someone says, after I get my work permit and Social Security and green card, can I stop going to school after I turn 18? If you graduate, I think you're good. You're good. Okay. If you get your green card, I don't know what exactly you're asking about. But give us a call. I'm a little bit confused about your question. 703-348-1663. Geetha is asking, how long does it take for NVC to send my interview to the embassy? So once your case is qualified in NVC, right? That's the National Visa Center. Again, for people that are just joining or are unfamiliar, if you're sponsoring someone who is located abroad, the National Visa Center collects all of these documents. They have an immigrant visa application that they fill out, that's filled out on the National Visa Center site. Once it's qualified, it usually takes about 6 months to get transferred to the embassy. But depends, because the embassies are so backed up right now because of COVID, because of the pandemic, that it's hard to get an interview. So it can take a very, very long time. And if anything is not right, it takes even longer. And NVC is really hard to get a hold of. So there are so many different ways that your application can be delayed. I would highly recommend working with an attorney to work on any green card application, because just the processing times are so delayed right now, and attorneys who practice immigration law do this day in and day out, so they know how to prepare a strong application, which might be hard for someone to figure out on their own. So give us a call, 703-348-1663. Again, 703-348-1663. I'm a U.S. citizen. My husband is a DACA recipient. They've been married 8 years and they've not gotten his papers. Okay, great. So if you're a U.S. citizen, your husband's a DACA recipient, and you're sponsoring that person, if he's a DACA recipient, he may have entered illegally, right? So you have to have a legal entry to be able to sponsor your husband. He may qualify for some other options. I would suggest that he gives us a call, schedules a consultation. You can reach us at 703-348-1663. But if he does not have a legal entry and you've sponsored him, it might not work. If he does have a legal entry, it should work, unless there's some other kind of issue. We can talk about that. But if you've been married 8 years, he doesn't have a legal entry, you certainly want to explore the options because it's not a straightforward marriage-based sponsorship, right? You'll either need a waiver, maybe he qualifies for VAWA or some other kind of benefit, maybe a T or a U visa, but he will not necessarily be able to do kind of a straightforward sponsorship, marriage-based sponsorship, okay? Give us a call. We certainly can help. We have helped many people in the situation that have had an illegal entry. They're married to U.S. citizens, and we're able to find options for them to get their green card while staying in the U.S. All right, give us a call, 703-348-1663. Great. All right, so here's another question. Can I request asylum? Can I ask for asylum if I am in removal proceedings? Can I ask for asylum if I'm in removal proceedings? So yes, that's usually the most common time to ask for asylum. Asylum means that maybe I'm removable. So if you're in removal proceedings, if you're in front of a judge essentially, and you've whatever they're saying, so let's say you had a crime or you entered illegally, and the government is trying to remove you to your home country, trying to have you deported, you can plead asylum. You can say, if it's true, of course, that you're afraid to return to your home country because you're afraid you might suffer harm for X reason, right? Only certain reasons qualify for asylum. So you want to work with an attorney and make sure that the reason that you are afraid to return to your home country is something that would qualify you for asylum. And you offer proof, you offer your testimony, you offer reports about your country and why that reason is likely to result in harm if you do return to your home country. So there's many ways to demonstrate that you qualify for asylum and that the court should not have you removed. Give us a call if we can help you. We're at 703-348-1663. All right, this is a really common question that I get. So I hope that this helps you a lot. Is it possible to apply for asylum if I'm outside the United States? Again, is it possible to apply for asylum if I am outside the United States? So you cannot apply for asylum if you're outside the United States. Asylum is for people that are inside the U.S. and are afraid of being returned to their home country. So if you're outside the U.S. and you're afraid of the situation in your home country, you're considered a refugee, right? So essentially, you're still afraid to be in your home country, but you're considered a refugee, not an asylee. That's the term for whether you're inside the U.S. or outside the U.S. To apply for refugee status, you usually work with an organization abroad. So private attorneys will have a very hard time helping you with getting refugee status. Okay, but if you're already in the U.S., you can apply for asylum. You can work with a private attorney or a nonprofit attorney that can help you file for asylum. But if you're outside the U.S., it's called a refugee status, and you usually cannot work with like a U.S. immigration attorney. You can, but we can't help you get that status. It's not like applying for student status or a marriage-based status. It's essentially you work with an organization that is kind of works with the State Department and will get you refugee status. So it's basically like teaming up with the correct organization to get refugee status. So people, for example, right now in Afghanistan or the Ukraine, you may be able to get refugee status. But if you want to come into the U.S. because of this fear of harm, you can also apply for what's called humanitarian parole. Humanitarian parole is basically seeking entry into the U.S. For humanitarian reasons, for protection for yourself or for your family. So we're helping a number of folks who fear persecution by the Taliban. We're helping them come into the U.S. through humanitarian parole and then apply for asylum. All right, so I hope that this has been helpful to you. I missed you guys. I haven't seen you in a long time, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Please make sure to like and follow our page if you have not already. I am on here talking about immigration, giving you updates on immigration, and most importantly, answering your immigration questions. So feel free to Share this with your friends if you know others that have immigration questions, immigration issues. Feel free to follow and like us to get updates on immigration. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you so much, guys. See you soon. Bye.